Hello and welcome back to our Bible story time. I'm so glad that you're here today. We're reading each day from the Lectionary Story Bible by Ralph Milton. And Ralph has given his permission for his stories to be used, and we're very grateful for that. Today we're starting a new story about a man named Moses, but the story starts when he's just a little baby. It kind of picks up from the last story about Joseph that we read, where all the people of Joseph's family come to Egypt, and that's where our story starts today. It's called Miriam Saves Her Brother. It's all about the big sister looking out for the little brother. It's based on the first and second chapters of Exodus. So after the story of Joseph, the people of the house of Israel did not go back to Canaan. About 400 years had passed since the time of Joseph. And over those years, the people of Israel began to call themselves Hebrews. The Hebrew people had kept on living in Egypt because they liked it there. There was lots of food. But after 400 years, most of the Hebrew people had become slaves. They had to work for the Egyptians, but there got to be more and more Hebrews, and the Egyptians began to be afraid. Those Hebrews, grumbled the Pharaoh. Soon there will be more Hebrews than there are Egyptians. Why doesn't somebody do something? Sir, said one of the helpers, you are the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Could you do something? I guess so, said the Pharaoh. He talked to Shirpa and Pua. They were midwives, women who help when mothers are having babies. When one of the Hebrew women has a baby boy, Pharaoh said, I want you to kill it. Shipra and Pura could hardly believe that someone would ask for such a terrible thing. So they made a plan. Let's tell the Pharaoh how strong the Hebrew women are, said Pua. Let's say they don't need us to help the babies because the babies are born. These babies are born before we get there, Shirpa told the Pharaoh. This was a very brave thing for the two midwives to do. If the Pharaoh had found out, he might have killed them. But the Pharaoh believed what Shipra and Pua said. So the Pharaoh tried something else. He gave an order. When a boy baby is born, throw it in the river and drown it. The Pharaoh sent his soldiers to look in all the houses to make sure all the baby boys were drowned. The Hebrew people tried everything to keep their babies away from the Pharaoh's soldiers, but usually the soldiers found the babies anyway. When a woman named Jochebed gave birth to a baby boy, she and her husband Amram didn't know what to do. They kept the baby hidden for a while, but as the baby grew, it was noisy sometimes. They knew the soldiers would find the baby and kill it. One day, Jochebed and the baby's older sister, Miriam, had an idea. They made a special basket for the baby. They fixed the basket so it would float on water. Then Jochebed and Miriam took the basket to the edge of the river. They put the basket in the water among the reeds. The soldiers will never find the baby here, said Jochebed. Miriam, please stay close by so nothing bad happens to the baby. Imagine Miriam's surprise when she saw a princess come down to the river. It was the Pharaoh's daughter come to have a bath. Now Miriam was really worried. If the princess sees the basket with the baby, she'll call the soldiers and they will kill my baby brother. Sure enough, the princess saw the basket. She sent one of her helpers to get it for her. Oh, what a beautiful baby, said the princess. The little baby was crying, so the princess picked it up and cuddled it. I'm going to take care of this baby as if it were my own. When Miriam heard that, she had another good idea. She ran over to the princess and said, would you like me to find someone who can feed the baby milk from her breasts and take very good care of it for you? Why, yes, said the princess. So Miriam ran and got Jochebed, her mother. Take this baby and take good care of him, the princess told Jochebed. I will pay you for your work. Later in the day, Miriam and her mother were talking about what had happened. Miriam jumped up and down and squealed. She was so happy. Shh, said her mother. People will hear you. But Jochebed couldn't keep from laughing. All I wanted was to keep my baby from being killed by the Pharaoh. Now the Pharaoh's daughter is paying me to look after my own baby. I think God must have some plans for this child. When the baby got a little older, the princess took the baby to the palace to live. I will raise him as if he is an Egyptian, said the princess. He will live like a prince in the Pharaoh's palace, and I will call him Moses, which means I lifted him out of the water. We're going to pick up more on some of the stories of Moses a little later on in this story time. One of the really cool things about Moses is that we hear the story of him right from when he's a little tiny baby to when he's a young man, all the way up to when he's an old man. And so we hear lots and lots of stories about Moses in our Bible. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today, and I look forward to having you here tomorrow. Bye for now.